Yes.
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 All right. Motion carries.
Consent agenda approval. Someone like to make a motion to approve?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported.
All right.
Vote please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, announcements. I'll start off with March 29th at 59 West in the East Ballroom. We'll be having a public meeting that addresses the medical marijuana issue. If there's anybody that's interested, please come because we're looking for input as a board. The format's going to be similar to those that were at our January meeting in terms of there'll be a presentation half as long. And then we're going to set it up so that we can get some pros and cons and kind of find out a one-on-one type thing, how the public is feeling at that. From that point, we'll put some stuff back in the paper. Here's what happened there, and then we're going to carry on this until we get. We got a lot of things we need to do before anybody makes any decisions in any direction. So everybody needs to learn, including the public. So what it's about, why would we, why shouldn't we, and the board needs to hear it as well. So the next item is Highland Garden Talk is March 21st at the Highland Activity Center, 6:30 p.m.
I have tickets.
Judy has tickets. You want to say anything about that?
Sure. Our speaker is Jan Bills. She owns a business called Two Women in a Hoe. She's also author of Late Bloomer. So she's gonna she is gonna talk on making gardening easier in the second half of life. So come on down. $5 a ticket and refreshments and door prizes.
Sounds like fun. So. Okay, the Board of Trustees is having a workshop meeting on March 22nd. It'll be 6:30 here. Here on Valley Egg Hunt at Duck Lake Pines Park is April 8th from 10 to 12:30. The Highland Board of Trustees meeting that was originally scheduled for April 12th is being rescheduled to April 26th. This is a good one here. Hazardous Waste Day is April 29th from 8 to 12 p.m. and we're moving it. It's going to be at Milford High School. So it should be able to be a lot safer for people to get in and out and a lot faster to get through. And if you have any hazardous waste, that's the time to bring it down. So April 29th, 8 to 12, Milford High School. Township board meetings are now available for viewing on the Charter Township Highland, Michigan YouTube channel. So if you type in Charter Township of Highland, Michigan, you have to do that because there's 2 Highland townships in Michigan. And then there's also one in Pennsylvania, so you'll come up with odd ones. Just look for familiar faces. It might help you out. Or
if you see me in Pennsylvania, please.
And at that point, any public comment? Anybody have anything you'd like to say before we move into the next part that you're going to hate us for? So, anybody on the board? Public comment? All right. Next item 7, pending business. We'd like to make a motion if somebody would to go into closed session to consider. Confidential attorney-client privilege correspondence regarding 201 Lone Tree Road and Eleanor Street and M59 property.
Support. You just made.
I made the motion, so moved and supported.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Welcome back.
Okay.
I'm back. Sorry.
Back in session. We'll move on to new business. Item A, deferral of requirement to build access road to Township engineering specifications. Land Division 893 North Hickory Ridge Road. I guess some history on this. Mr. Cleve King is here tonight. It's his property. In your packet, you were given a letter from Mr. King that described what his wishes were to be able to do with his property. And then also there was an aerial shot that showed a division of that property. So what I did is I took some pictures, because what Mr. King would like to do is to not put in what you would call a county spec road running into these parcels. Now the rationale is that if you've got an estate, and some of you may be able to see this or not, but if you look at this, you can see how grand the entrance is, how nice and smooth the driveway goes into the fields. If you start putting in a county spec road, you're gonna double the width of that. You're gonna have ditches, and you're gonna have gravel shoulders. And so what it does is it turns this piece of road work into a major road versus an estate drive. So the idea is to have what you would think of if any of you have watched any of the English videos or movies where they show driving into the estate, and that's kind of the concept, is that he's looking at dividing the property up into 4 parcels, averaging between 23 and 35 acres each. The intent is to preserve the open space. It currently is zoned R 1.5, which means that it can be divided up into 1.5 acre parcels. And one of the things that everybody says in Highland, we want to keep the rural atmosphere, and this is one way to allow Mr. King to be able to, market his property a little more readily. It's been for sale for some time. And finding people to purchase 120 acres for a single parcel is not quite like it might have been in the past. At least it hasn't proven to be people jumping out of the cars to get there to buy it. So anyways, the thought process was to allow the use of the drive as it is now, or the estate drive, to access 3 parcels. So I can't put it up on the screen, but you've got parcel number 1 is the piece to the right of the gate, and that's 23 acres, and that would end up having a separate access, which would be right about the end of where Wardle Road comes in, the northeast corner. So this drive would service Mr. King's house, which you can only see his flagpole, and those are his barns and stuff. The house is kind of right at the end of the drive. You can see it, but it turns off. So to service that, and to service, so that'd be parcel number 2, parcel number 3, and parcel number 4. And instead of building a road that goes all the way back in to the end of parcel 3 and 4, to put a cul-de-sac at the start points of those, so that they can then decide where do they want to put their drive in. So they would end up with driveways that are similar to this. So you build your estate, and then you will meander your drive up. So the essence is, you can see that there's plenty of width for a regular drive. In fact,
What is the width?
the width is a little over 12 feet. So
Does that
that's,
accommodate two-way traffic then? If
well, that's one of the things we have to discuss. So there's multiple ways to look at this, and I addressed it in part of this here. So that gives you an idea of of a full-size pickup on the parcel. It's 12 foot 4 or 5 inches wide. You can see the width of the tape there. And what the road does is, as you approach the anyways, as you start to head towards the flag, you can see it veers a little bit off to the left and kind of meanders around. But what would be done is a 60-foot wide easement would be crafted to be able to allow for that to occur. So essentially, there's some things that we need to look at that, you know, in terms of, can we grant this? I don't know that, is Gary still here? Where'd he go?
It's right in front.
He moved.
I wanted to see your pictures.
See if I can, I think we got a lock up.
Is this then just be a private road exclusively for those?
Private
four
driveway.
parcels? Private driveway.
Yeah.
For three,
Yeah.
it'd be a shared
Shared
driveway for three.
Kinda like private, it's a private
Yeah.
driveway.
So what they do in Europe on long stretches like this is they put turnouts. So you could have multiple turnouts that would allow a vehicle to pull off and another one to pass. And if you had, you know, 3 homes back in there, you know, including the back 3 parcels, you know, how many cars are you gonna have traveling on that in a day? You know, if you gave 3 or 4 to each one, that's
Yeah.
9 to 12 cars, and how often would they meet, you know, that type of thing. So if you put in asphalt.
It's an area, yeah.
But the process of trying to split the property up and then having to put in a full county spec road puts an encumbrance on Mr. King trying to, you know, one market it. He's burning up a lot of money on for 3 lots is what it boils down to.
Just
So
like
it's,
private lane, right?
Right.
More or less, just private lane.
Yeah.
but what we don't want to have happen, and I think Mr. King knows this and is mostly agreeable to it, I'm sure. I'll let you speak in a minute. I will. We don't want to have the opportunity, because when you have 10-acre parcels or more, they can, if you divided it up as it is now into 4 parcels, whoever buys a parcel can immediately split again.
Right.
So what that does is that means now, all of a sudden, you got a load on, potential on that drive. So the thing that you would do is craft some type of agreement that says first in to divide has to build the road. And that puts the impetus on the development of that property to pay for that, as opposed to trying to mark up the, you know, the scenic view that you have going in here. It's really a nice ride in there. It's a beautiful piece of property. And it would be nice if we could have several estates that are in there and keep that open. So tonight, the question was, could we, as a board, you know, give Mr. King the latitude to be able to maintain that as a state drive or a private drive? And so I think that's where the conversation needs to go from there. So I don't know if you want to add anything on that, Cleve, or?
Well, the fence you see in the picture is the property line from the Snowblin's horse farm, which was originally Tripp's house and barns and whatever. So you'd be coming from that fence line over 60 feet for an easement. Our goal, we've had this on the market for over 1.5 years, and we're not getting anywhere. We've dropped the price. We're down now almost to the price of vacant land. And in reality, and nothing's happening. So we're thinking that if we divide this, or can get the agreement that we could divide it down the road, we would then get more people interested. We would take the house and the barns and 25 acres roughly, drop the price down under $1 million, and see, hopefully we'd get people in coming out to look, and then it gets a lot of hoping, but we would hope that somebody would come out and want all of it, because that, my worst fear is that this is gonna get sold off to a developer, and you're gonna have 1.5 acre homes. You're gonna have 60 to 70 homes in there, depending on whether you cluster them or not. And it's one of the nicest last large pieces of land in this township. And it's got what the township calls Dinosaur Lake on it, which is a unique feature. And I would love to see this be nothing more than a park for the township, for the county. But that's not up to me to do that. So I'm at getting to the end. You know, I'm getting along in the tooth here, and I gotta make something happen here pretty quick. So this was just another thing that Scott and I had talked about to try and generate a little more interest and get things rolling, and then hopefully somebody will come along and we can sell it intact as one piece. So I'm not looking to get a commitment from the township tonight that says, yes, you can do this and go through the whole split process. I'm just looking for a little help that says, you're not gonna fight me down the road. If we start to market it this way, then the first person that comes along that buys something, then that's another fear, because if they only come in and buy one piece, then I gotta follow through. So now that doesn't generate enough income maybe to do what I need to do. But at that point, we would then get the surveying done, get the legal descriptions done, do everything. And I don't have a problem having deed restrictions on this that says exactly what you said earlier. If the first you sell it off and somebody wants to then divide it further, then they're on the hook for building the county road. And I think that's fair. And it'd be fair to the other two property owners that would be in there. The first piece on the north of the truck right there, that has a separate curb cut already through the county, and it's on the north corner of my property line that gets out onto Hickey Ridge. There's already a gate up there right now, so that would not share in that driveway. So it'd just really be two more groups plus whoever buys the house.
Right, so to try and kind of encapsulate this, that we're on the same page here, Mr. King's not saying he's gonna split it today, but he has a formula that he would like to attempt if he should decide to split it. He's not saying that he wants to put in, change the road at this point either.
No.
And just to give you an idea of cost, there's about 1,600 foot of road there at $150 a foot. That's $240,000 you'd have to do just to bring the driveway up to county spec.
Yeah.
And what do you get out of it? And that's the question is are we encumbering the property in a way on an estate basis that doesn't need to be there? Yeah, there'll have to be some changes as time goes on, but if you start to load it up with cars, then you have to think ahead on that one. And
Right.
That's when, somebody's developing and they got multiple lots, the revenue stream it needs to be in it to cover that $240,000 to bring it up to spec. So, I guess.
It'd only be the three pieces of property though that
Right.
would ever share that. So if the first one that has its own curb cut out there has its own driveway access, if that guy came in and then wanted to go, he'd have to follow the regular ordinances or whatever for splitting his property or doing whatever. He'd have to come back in front of the township for that.
Right.
Question about, the three that share that driveway. Lieutenant, do you see any issues with that as far as emergency vehicles or anything? Is there any issues that way?
No, I wouldn't see an issue with that. It'd be like a lot of our residents here have similar driveways,
Sure.
long, deep lots, and, if it's that much of an emergency, we're going on the grass.
Thank you.
There is one, unfortunately, Chief Chapman wasn't able to stick around. In the ordinance, there's a statement about, for fire, that you need 20 foot of clearance. And right now, the question is, what does 20 foot of clearance mean? And I've had this discussion with, in previous scenarios when the fire department was trying to get into different driveways, and I know that the fire marshal had stated that they had to clear for 20 foot, but it didn't have to be a 20 foot road bed. And so there's the question is, you're gonna have to get an interpretation, is the chief seeing road bed or 20 foot of clearance? And that could put a, on it, but I think that that's something that, from previous experience, it's clearance, not road bed. And you've got over 12 foot of road bed. The standard, if you go on an M59 right now, your lane's 11 feet wide. So that's wider than a single lane on a freeway.
You said there's the 60-foot turnaround at the end.
When somebody buys those parcels, then they would have to put that
Yeah, the first person that buys whatever,
Okay, they would have to put that in.
we then have to get the driveway extended or the easement down in the cul-de-sac in
Right.
and whatever. But there's 20 foot of clearance right now to where we wanna go with the cul-de-sac, and then from there, it would be, the people would be coming back in front of the township with a site plan saying, here's where our house is gonna be and here's what our driveway looks like, and then they have to, you know, I don't see a problem
There's no
anywhere.
obstruction here, it's just flat.
Yeah, the cul-de-sac, there's a requirement of a 60-foot radius, for
Right.
cul-de-sacs. So that's one of the things that would be, that's actually what's drawn on
Yeah, the rough.
it's at a scale that's at 60 feet, but, so anyways, that's, kind of where we're at tonight, and, I know the board isn't in a position to just vote on it, but Gary, do you have any recommendation on what we can send Mr.
Right,
King
well-
off with here?
As the memo from Beth outlines, under the private road ordinance, the board is allowed to grant waivers from the engineering design standards. And I think the ones that are of primary concern here are the minimum widths for one-way travel of 16 feet and two-way travel of 27 feet. So those are the engineering design standards. The private road ordinance says the board may grant a waiver. But it also says that you do that upon the recommendation of the planning director, and what you have tonight is a memo that outlines some considerations, but you don't have a positive recommendation one way or the other, you just have options. So, you know, I would characterize this as in the nature of a work session of sorts, for you to hear the dilemma and get an understanding of what's requested. One thing the private road ordinance does say, and that maybe provides some guidance on where to go, is that this is in 2013B, if a private road is intended to serve parcels created with a land division, applicants encouraged to submit a development sketch plan and seek preliminary approval prior to developing fully engineered private road plans. So if an application for a land division was submitted, you know, the land division ordinance allows for different levels of approval. It wouldn't require the applicant to go all the way through to the end and finalize it, but by turning in the application, it would give the planning department the necessary information to provide you with a recommendation on a waiver. And that would be a way to get it to the point where the board could make a decision that could be relied on by Mr. King in his future planning.
Do you understand what he's saying there, Cleve?
Not really.
I have that
He's an
effect
attorney, right?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, what he's saying is that at this point, I'll throw in a couple of my words, he's not saying the board should say yes or no. What he's saying is we take this back to the planning department. If you're intent on doing the land division, then put together a sketch plan that shows the dimensioning and so on of what you have and what you think you're gonna do, and then you give it to our planning department. It doesn't have to go in front of the planning commission, but to our planning department, then the planning department can then look at it with your, you can be involved in it too at the same time. You can look at it and say, what are the things we could do to make this work? Is that?
Right, the idea is a formal submission that the planning director can provide you with a recommendation on. For instance, Mr. Hamlin, you mentioned that what's being presented has nothing to do with the requirement that there be a 60-foot easement within which that road, however wide it is, has to be positioned. And, you know, the ordinance, you know, goes to some extent on where that easement has to be shown and so forth. I mean, if there was a more detailed submittal of a conceptual land division, then I think that it would put the board in a position to actually grant or not a waiver. The other thing that the waiver provision of the private road ordinance says is you have to make specific findings about the natural features and so forth that are being preserved as a result of it. So, you know, when it comes back to you, ideally you have the ability to make a decision that's in writing, maybe in the form of a resolution, that spells those things out. So there's a record of why you granted a waiver from strict compliance in this situation. The other point is, although I've identified the main concerns, the width of the one-way and two-way lanes that are required by the engineering design standards, there may be other provisions of those standards that Mr. King would also be asking for some waiver relief from. And it would be good if a more detailed submittal was presented so that all of the possible waivers he might be asking consideration of could be considered at the same time.
I just get back to where this is a private driveway, not a private road. And I think that's what we're asking for here is that, and we've already got instances of that in the township. In fact, another piece that I own has 4 parcels sharing a private driveway, so.
Well, why don't we do this? Make an appointment with our planning consultant, and then we'll sit down and take, excuse me, yes?
Okay, just one other thing. It has to be a private road to access, a lot in the township has to be on a public road or on a private road. I mean, that's the rules. So, but it might look like a driveway, but it can still be a private road. But I mean, that terminology is important. The zoning ordinance says you're either got frontage on a road, public road, or you have frontage on an approved private road. What we're talking about here is what the approved private road can look like.
Right.
Mr. King wants it to look narrower than what the ordinance calls for and the design standards call for. And there is a process under which he can get a final decision from you on that.
So that's, what we should do then is make an appointment with the planning department. We can bring forth what you have and we'll talk about, you know, what kind of a drawing should you put together. It's not gonna be complicated. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It just needs to be a little more accurate than
What we got.
the photograph. So the essence, I think has brought up enough questions that have the ability to be able to answer them. Just for the public to understand some of the things, I'll read some stuff that was kind of put out there. You know, would we make you do these certain things? Would you widen the drive to 18 foot? You know, once again, that's not what was requested, so that would be something, are we gonna make you do that? Then you're probably gonna say, well, I don't think I'll do this thing. But the last item in there was add a widening at strategic points to act as a turnout so traffic may pass, as is common in Europe, where you have narrow areas to the old
Right.
roads. So I think what it boils down to is let's get together with the planning consultant and look at all those different avenues to see how we can help you potentially meet that criterion that you would like to be at. So there's verbiage and legalities that we have to look at in terms of numbers and width and all that, and it may be totally feasible. But so what our lawyer's suggesting is let's get that part next and then bring that back to the board so we have definitive something to actually make a decision on. Because right now we don't have enough definitive information to make that decision based on what I'm hearing from our attorney.
Would that be in-house with
Yeah,
that
in-house.
Corwin?
In-house.
Okay.
And we'll help you in every way we can to put that together so that you have the right information based on what our ordinances are and stuff.
That's,
Yes.
that's something you schedule in a few days or something?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, so there's no time loss, okay?
yeah. And that'll get you, you know, you've got enough other paperwork that we could bring
Right.
forward to be able to take some scale drawings off of to be able to put that thing together. So it's not like you're gonna have to go out and hire an engineer to do an engineered drawing.
Right. I talked to the surveyors that had done a lot of work for me, and they said that they can actually take the aerial photograph and shoot GPS coordinates and draw up a,
Yeah, if you can get them to do
Something,
that, that's
you know, I
even
don't-
better because then you've got the actual visual from the aerial component that's overlaid, and we get a lot of drawings like that anyways, you've board seen those before, so that sounds, I think that's a fair, back and forth right here for tonight. It's not, by any shake a no, but it is one of the things that we have parcels in this property that, we need to think about how are we gonna keep our rural appearance, and we, as I've said to a number of people, we have an unusual community. We have people that don't have a dime, and we have people that have all the resources in the world, but we all get together in the same community. And that's kind of unusual. You know, a lot of communities are, you know, based on different income levels. We're spread all over the place, but we all get together, and we all get along together, I believe. So it's a good, you know, I appreciate you coming forward to this, and I hope that we can help you accomplish what you need
I
to.
think we're all on the same page. I mean, I'm doing everything I can without giving the property away, which I can't afford to do. This is my final retirement package, and so I need to get something going on it. But I think that, again, I'm concerned that this is gonna go to a developer, and we're gonna have, you know, a gazillion homes in there, and you have to be on the property, you have to know the property. I'm only the third owner since 1850.
Wow.
This property originally was Governor Wagner's, then it went to Tripp's, and then it went to me. And I don't think I could live with myself if this got developed into a subdivision.
And we're neighbors, so I know what he's saying, because we always supported trying to keep the rural feeling, so.
That's what I was kind of wondering about. How are you going to control then any 4 of those to develop to 1.5 acre parcels?
How do you stop it?
Yeah.
I think you do it in the
I mean,
regards
you
of
can
the,
do it by deed restrictions you put in when you
Right.
sell it,
Mhm.
but
And
is
that-
that your intention?
yes, was to put deed restrictions on, so the first, if somebody comes along, and let's say all 4 parcels sell, the first person that wants, now I can't control the first one because that's got a separate access and that doesn't have a shared driveway, so you can't make him pay for a road. But if one of the other 3, my house, or, and I don't know how they could do that, doesn't make any sense, but the other 2 big pieces, if somebody wanted to divide it, you would just have a deed restriction in there that if anybody wants to further divide their property, they have to pay for a county road to be, and not penalize the other 2
Yeah, but it's not the
lots.
county road so much that I'm concerned about is the density that you're talking. You know, you don't want it to be developed by a big developer and all these homes. Well,
Right. How do you
Not-
prevent it? I don't know legally if I
Well,
can stop that, can I, Scott?
yeah, you can. You can rezone it back to the 10 acres it was, or 5 acres, or whatever. But,
Well,
you know, you're looking, if you split it up, you're looking at anywhere between 15 and 23 homes on each of those 4 parcels.
Well, you can put a deed restriction on it when you sell it, that it
Well,
cannot be divided.
you also, I mean, it would have to get approved by the board for any development, but
Not if it's zoned that way. You know, if it's zoned 1.5 acres, anybody that buys it can split it into 1.5 acre parcels. Unless you change the zoning, or you put deed restrictions on it that it can't be split more than one time into 2 parcels or whatever, you know. I mean, you said your concern is the development
Right.
of these, you know, all these homes in here, but you can't stop it if you don't do something like that.
you could, I mean, you'd have Land Division Act provides him a certain number of splits. You could control it by the number of splits you provide to each parcel. So that maybe it's a 40-acre parcel could only have 3 or
But
4.
you don't have to split it to get 1.5 acre parcels on there when you develop it.
Because
Yeah,
it's
it's 2
zoned
different
acre,
things.
Yeah.
but it's basically dual
What's the
zoning, it's
zoning?
1.5 zoning, but
It's-
also
it's one
agricultural.
That's what I'm saying. If you took any one of those parcels, you get between 15 and 20
You'd have to,
homes on it.
what happens there is you end up either running into the site condo rules or individual lots, and individual lots all have individual property descriptions, so you're gonna have splits. They're all splits, it requires splits. You couldn't just say, okay, I'm putting 15 houses on it. So if you did a deed restriction that said no more than 3 or 4 parcels per whatever, this is just
Right.
what ifs, then that would pretty much prevent the the additional splits, because you'd have to divide that property up
Can we
into
prevent
property
them?
descriptions.
Can't we prevent them with deed restrictions?
You can restrict anything.
That was my question, of do you plan on doing that? I mean, if your concern is you don't want this to being developed
Right,
into all
so
these
why
little
not
homes
just
and-
have that in the deed restrictions that you can't further divide the property?
Right.
Yeah.
Period.
I mean, that's certainly Mr. King's goal, and, you know, the market's gonna tell, we're hoping that we find people that wanna keep that same
Mhm.
atmosphere and feel.
What happens if you find one guy that wants it or two, and then the third one doesn't, and he wants to put 20 homes in that parcel?
But he has a deed restriction on it, so.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
I mean, those are,
Yeah,
that's what I would be.
yeah,
concerned
there can certainly be deed restrictions, and if you're gonna sell, you sell one property, one 40-acre parcel to a guy for an estate, obviously his parcel is gonna be 25 to 30 acres with his current house and buildings. Boy, at that time, I'm sure the guy that is buying the 40 acres to build one house is gonna make sure that somebody can't come in there and build 20 on a parcel.
Well,
So there'll be controls, I can assure you, or we're not gonna get someone to pay, you know, $10,000-15,000 an acre for 40-acre
Right.
lot.
And meanwhile, we got spring coming, we're hoping we're gonna have a little more uptick in people looking and whatever, but then that also brings a concern, I can't refuse to sell to a developer that wants to come in and buy the whole thing.
So, okay, well then, here's what we'll do, what my recommendation for you is, check me on this, please, Gary. Make an appointment with the planning department. I'll get together with you at the same time, because, you know, the three of us, you and the planner and I have already had discussions on this stuff. And let's talk about all the things that have been brought up at the table here, and then those are the things we need to address, along with some type of a drawing with more detail, and what the planner might recommend.
Okay,
And then we come back to the board with it. And I think we can accomplish that pretty quickly and effectively, and I think you kinda heard. Anybody else have any issues that they'd like to throw out there?
I love that you wanna keep it open.
yeah, but I also have to eat.
You absolutely do, no, but this could be a good solution.
You don't have to, I get this croak, which you never know at my age.
You got power, by the way? Oh, yeah, we got power. All right, okay, well.
All right, on
Thank
that
you.
note, Mr. King, thank you, and
Thanks.
appreciate the opportunity to
Well, we'll go to work on it.
see if we can help you out, maintaining the open space, and, but also help with, moving on. I know that, you are still gonna stay in the area if you do sell,
Oh,
so.
yeah, I'm already looking at my 10-acre piece. Going ahead with that. Just gotta get around the water table. Damn.
It's gotta quit raining. All right, well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And if you'd like, you can, we don't have to hang any longer.
Nice
I know you got a
night.
generator
Make me
going,
feel
so.
bad. I gotta go fill up the tractor.
All right, thanks
Thanks
again.
a lot.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
All right, B. Look at it, wow, where are we at? Okay, 8B is, Resolution 1704 to authorize the closure of Livingston Road and North John Street for parade and events. We've done these quite often, so I'll make the motion to get it rolling, to approve the resolution to close Livingston Road and John Street, specifically Livingston Road from M59 east to John Street from 9 a.m. to noon, Livingston Road from King east to John from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and John Street from Livingston Road north to the Highland Activity Center from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and the use of Veterans Park on Saturday, May 20th for the Founder's Day Parade.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
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 motion carries.
Missy, I have, that's in, most, 99% of it's right there, so you can, the
Yeah.
verbiage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, A, B, C. Resolution 17-05, authorized placement of signage on M59 for Founder's Day celebration. So I'd like to make the motion to approve the resolution to place two-sided, 3-foot tall by 4-foot wide core-plass signs within the center median of M59. The signs will be secured with metal fence posts, include festival name, date, and website. Signs are marked with arrow 1 and 2. I guess we don't have to have that in the motion, but
Support.
let me finish that.
Oh,
So signs will be in place May 6th, 2017 through May 22nd, 2017.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Savion?
Aye.
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
I said aye, I should have said yes.
It's all right. We know what you mean.
We'll take care of that later.
I'm in trouble.
Okay, this next item, proposed budget amendment for disaster response. At our OCAS meetings that we have once a month, that's a group of about 15 township supervisors that meet once a month. Orion Township Supervisor Chris Barnett was talking about a disaster that they had in their community. It was a straight line wind that came through a couple of years ago. And that if they hadn't had in their budget an item called emergency preparedness. Now, I have to add some stuff here because I've been getting more information as we've put this together, but to create a line item called emergency preparedness, if there had not been funding in that, then they would not have gotten relief from higher levels of government. So the county may not have stepped in, and FEMA would not step in if it was really, there was a requirement for that level of disaster. So what happens is you have to have a certain, a sum of money that says you have it here for disaster preparedness, and that you need to exhaust that before you can call FEMA or somebody in at a higher level to help you. So Saturday I went to a seminar in Lake Orion that Township that was about NIMS, which is National Institute of anyways, it's emergency
management system. National Incident Management System.
There we go. His wife works for Homeland Security, and she's got him up to date on it. So, anyways, that what came out of that is that the fund these funds need to be in line items that are in fire and police. So they recommended having $5,000 in the fire fund and $5,000 in the police fund for a total of $10,000, and that line items would be called emergency preparedness. Now, of course, we're going to have to pull the money out of general to fund that, but these are numbers you hope you never use. And then each year we would renew that with our budget. But it was pretty clear that, to give an example, if you're not following the recommendations of FEMA, if everybody remembers Katrina, a lot of people were wondering why FEMA took so long to get in there. The reason they took so long to get in there is, one, the funding was inappropriate, and they were never asked. And so you've got these scenarios where, as a board, there'll be some more information as we go along this year. We all need to have some training on emergency preparedness. There's levels that what should trustees do? What should the supervisor do? The clerk? There's actually certain things that you need to be prepared for. And I have to admit, if there was a disaster, I could probably figure out what to do, but it'd be a lot better to just know and know where to go to get the answers when you don't have it right away. And I'm a little nervous about that. I don't feel that I'm in a position to be as totally prepared as we should be. I do know a lot more now since the instruction I've had, but we all need to get smart, and we need to educate the public as well. So I think what I'd like to do is anybody have any questions? Normally we question after the fact, but,
I do. You said, I mean, it doesn't, I guess it doesn't really matter, but you said the $5,000 for the fire and the police would come from the general fund to fund that?
well, actually come from the fire fund
Right.
and be put in our line. I was mistaken
Yeah,
on
we
that,
put
but,
it, we put it in each one of their
Right.
budget, just designate $5,000 in each budget, okay.
But if you're gonna do budget amendments, you also need to show where the revenue's coming from. You know,
Right.
just-
and, the first case in this, in the memorandum they put out, I was given the, recommendation that it would be in our budget.
I don't think it should be.
And it's not, and that's why I said that there's some changes in that, so, maybe you might have, with your years of experience, have a recommendation on, where or how we should do that,
I have a question.
yes?
So we're just moving $5,000 in the police fund from point A to point B, right now?
Right.
It's not actually moving money,
It's being
just,
encumbered.
just
restricted.
setting the budget for it.
Okay.
And that's the other part of it, too, you have to show where the money's coming from.
Well-
You know, if it's in the police fund, then you just show it in the budget as,
Are you looking for where it's gonna come from in the future to continue to populate it? Or
no,
once it's there, we'll
no,
just
I'm
leave it?
just talking for budget amendments, if you're gonna amend the budget, you have to show where the money's coming from.
It's right here.
You have to show the revenue
Let's
side.
wrap the stackers.
So really, I mean, this doesn't show us what the budget amendment, the proposed budget amendments are. You know, and Amy can give you those numbers too, Rick, she has them in the financial
Yeah,
reports, or all the
I would
ones
say
you
that
want, but
we don't have to make this tonight necessarily, but after watching what was going on today, it's like, I'm going, oh my God, man, we did. So, I can get that information and at our next board meeting in the 22nd, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Have this set up for that.
I think it's a good idea to be proactive
Yes.
about this and to set this up.
The
so
wind's
that we
not
are
down yet?
prepared.
Slowly.
power back on it?
We may have an emergency for it.
That's coming, so who knows what's going on.
So there's a, you know, and related to the emergency stuff, there's some other things that we're gonna need to look forward to as a board. We have a generator that's plugs into the side of the building, but it's over in Duck Lake's, the fire hall in Duck Lake. So what happens is, all the firemen are out right now running around doing their thing, and how do we get the generator? You know, so I think what we need to look at is we need to look at possibly taking that generator and having it converted or trade in on a stationary unit, because this building is command center.
Is this the incident command center?
Yeah, so we need to be, have the energy, you know, the power supply to be able to do that, and we can't, and the other thing that happens is that these generators that are stationary, they exercise themselves. And that actually makes them last longer, and that generator sits over there and doesn't run until we have a festival, and then somebody pulls it up and starts it up and shuts it off, and then it sits for another 6 to 8 months. So, you don't even though I know the firemen do check it once in a while, but I don't know where they're at on it. So that's one of the things we gotta be looking at, and I think in our future budgets, we need to look at some of these scenarios.
We don't have a real-time online generator, yeah, that's not good.
Oh, we have one at the fire department and the police department
Yeah.
next door.
Yeah, they both have
Can we power into that?
them. No,
Okay,
they're not big enough.
okay, so we need one to.
But anyways, that's just one thing that, you know, look forward to that in the next budget round that we do. All right, so I'll have that information for the next board meeting, and we'll put that on the next agenda. Next item is request for the supervisor authorization to sign the contract for fireworks. Gary, you had some contractual.
Three recommendations. First is, should be Charter Township of Highland as the quote sponsor
instead
Second.
of Highland Township, Red, White, and Boone.
Not Highland Township, but
Right.
White
Charter,
and Blue.
Charter Township.
Yeah, the red, white, and boom is irrelevant, but I mean, it's,
Right.
So that's the first change. Second, the way this contract reads is if the event doesn't go off on the scheduled date, you can get charged up to 10% of the contract price. This has a scheduled date and a rain date, and I don't know if this has ever come up in the past, but confirm that the rain date is considered part of the scheduled display.
it is.
If you go to the rain date, you're not paying an extra 10%.
That's correct. And the reason that 1,000 came up was, 2 years ago, we had, it got rained out.
On the rain
And,
date?
we didn't have a rain date set. They went ahead and set them off, but what happens is, the $1,000 is if we have to set it for another future date, they have to pack up all those fireworks, and that's what you pay them for. And it's pretty extensive because there's wires running all over the ground, and they have to wind all that up and safely contain it and keep it for the another date. And so that's what that's about. But when you have the second date, I think we're pretty safe in that.
And the third concern was there's an indemnification and hold harmless, where the township is doing that for the contractors in the last sentence of section 10. If you approve this, that should be deleted. I'm
Okay.
sure your insurance plan has not signed off on that. So if you were looking for a motion to approve this, it would be a motion to approve with the name of the sponsor changed to Charter Township of Highland, the last sentence of section 10 deleted, with the understanding that the rain date is part of the scheduled display.
So moved.
It's section 12, isn't it, the whole
I was
harmless?
gonna say,
Excuse me,
I was gonna say, it's
yes,
not raining.
my apologies.
Good catch, Mary.
This is power.
Okay, I'll get, so the motion is, you want me to repeat it?
It would be a motion to approve the contract service agreement with Ace Pyro LLC with the name of the sponsor changed to Charter Township of Highland, the last sentence of section 12 deleted, with the understanding that the rain date is part of the scheduled display for purposes of section 6.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported.
Who supported, I'm sorry.
Mary Beth.
Thank you. Alright.
Do we need to say that, to authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement, or not?
That's a good idea.
Okay,
Add that at
would
the
you
end.
like, add that to the, motion?
So you're making the motion though? Or you're making the motion?
Yeah, the
Okay.
motion can come from me.
Okay, we ready to vote?
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next item, proposal for continuing reimbursement for a portion of dust control for private roads. This is the continuation of the discussion we had. We've been reimbursing, people for, chloriding and dust control on private roads, under basically certain conditions, in other words, up to 50% with, or,
That's
So much of-
19 cents a foot or
yeah.
something like that.
yeah, I think the price has gone up, on it, but,
23.
by, it's 24 cents versus 23 cents, but, the question was, is that something we wanna continue to do? Because we have to have an agreement or a contract with each one of these, private roads, or the entity for the private road. And, you know, I kinda recommend that, I'd like to continue to do that, but at the same token, I look at it on the reverse side and I go, who do we get an agreement with? Some of these private roads, it should be an association, Gary, or, I mean, you're not gonna get an agreement with one individual on a private road, would we? Who's
You could.
representing the entire road?
Could, I mean, I provided you with a form contract to use
Right.
if you wanted to continue to do this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes you just have an individual point person for a group of properties and they've made the arrangements and they've been the
Well,
person that.
that's exactly what's gone on in most cases.
Right, and I just would be curious, who does the township issue the reimbursement check to? The person that was that,
Whoever requests it, because they show the invoice.
right?
They
So
show that they've paid it.
I have no difficulty with the payment being to an individual in that form contract. We just wanna spell out their relationship into the parties that they're representing when they're doing this. We can work that out, but just because it's an individual versus a formal association doesn't create a legal obstacle in my mind. You don't wanna identify what properties are being benefited by the contract. But all those people don't have to sign.
Okay, that was my hesitation, is that we get individuals that come in and it's like, no, man, are they, can you actually hold them responsible? But it's that,
Well, the reimbursement, so I mean, at the point in time you're
Exactly, they've already paid.
paying, they've already paid.
yeah, and as Judy said, we've got proof that they have, so.
And we have a definitive list of roads, so we know that there's 20 roads or 30 roads.
No, it's kinda done on, the people come in to the office and basically, it's a group, so we will have to look at who was in the past and send them out a letter that says, if you want your road, continue the program, then we're gonna have to have a contract with an individual and to get them to fill the contract out first.
Well,
So I think there's some homework on this one, I don't know.
How do we prevent somebody from walking in with an invoice saying, I just did my road? And what
Well, the
was-
invoice shows the road, I mean, it shows all the information.
Well,
and then you have-
hopefully it's valid. I mean, how do we validate somebody walking in with an invoice saying, I had my road done?
They're pretty much the same
That's kind of
people
my
every
question,
year.
Mrs. Dory, what does the contract say with these private individuals?
I did not bring it with me, but it's a service contract that they
So it just says that they're gonna chloride the road and,
will reimbursement in recognition of the public purpose being served by it.
okay, so, not that big a deal, if they brought the invoice in that day, signed the contract that minute and put the request in for reimbursement? I mean, does it have to be, the contract have to be ahead of time?
Yes, it should be.
Well, I'm just asking a dumb question because, we
It's
have
not dumb.
1,000 roads and somebody walks in and says, I had my road chlorided. I mean,
It's pretty
do we
much
check
done.
to see if the road got chlorided before we pay somebody? Okay, all right.
Pretty much the same
I'm just
people
asking
every
a dumb
year.
question. Okay.
I mean, they've been doing it
All
for,
right. Okay. Done.
I mean, the township can exercise whatever level of scrutiny it wants to before it issues a check.
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, we can go check the road if we want.
All right.
Okay.
I'm done commenting.
So-
Picture, that's a good idea, you can do that now.
In this case, I guess what we need to do is, do you think that actually needs a motion to continue what we've been doing in the past?
We're changing
I know we talked about this subject in a closed session. I do not recall if we did any open session action. If not, then a motion would be to continue the reimbursement for private road chloriding, provided a service contract is signed with the township.
Okay, I made a recommended motion, I'll read it and see if,
Oh, that works.
okay, so, make the motion that the board continue the practice of reimbursement of a portion of the expense to apply dust control by private applicator on private dirt roads, provided that an appropriate contract is signed and held by the township and renewed on an annual basis. The terms of the amount of the reimbursement will be established at the time the township agrees upon the pricing proposed by Road Commission of Oakland County for dust control on county dirt roads within Highland.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported.
Who got credit for that support?
Who wants credit?
Frank, can
Judy,
have it.
have it.
It doesn't matter.
Dual approval, dual support.
I heard Brian's voice.
Alright,
Okay.
Brian's the loudest.
All right, just for general information, last year that reimbursement totaled $5,912.
Okay, ready to
And
vote?
anybody in the public that might wonder why we're doing this, it's basically what happens is we've got a whole bunch of public roads that the public is paying, you know, with tax dollars to chloride. And the reason that we made the decision to do it that way in the first place was that the county would come to us and say, these people wanted their piece of road chlorided, and they actually had to go out and define what parts of the dirt roads they would put chloride on. So if you ever went down some of those roads, you go, why didn't this get chlorided? It's because those people didn't want to pay for it. So what happened is, for, you know, an incremental amount more, I mean, it's probably, I think there was about 19,000 we used to pay, and then it's like 30 some odd thousand. So by having it all done, and what that does is it prolongs the quote life of the usable surface when they grade it and chloride it. So it gives everybody a benefit that uses the boatload of dirt roads that we have in the community. Yet we're also asking people who live on paved roads to pay for part of the dirt, and we're asking for people on private roads. So if we can help in any of those ways, the object is to give some relief to those that are on dirt roads that are private, so that their roads also hold up. So it's kind of it's one of those board decisions. How are you, you know, what are you doing for the benefit of the community? And one is to make the roads last longer. And so when the county comes through and they don't have to stop and go, oh, stop here. They just chloride the whole road and grade the whole road. There's 4 applications per year, so that's how that works.
We need to vote on
Vote, please.
that. Okay, we're gonna vote now. Mr. Howe?
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
I was ready.
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item, 8G. We've had some employee changes. We have an individual who's leaving the activity center assistant position effective March 7th. And I've received a request from the activity director to fill that vacant position, and I'm requesting the approval to promote Lynn Domier from her current part-time activity assistant position to the vacant full-time administrative assistant position. This position is full-time, 37.5 hours per week. The pay rate is $15 per hour. Start date will be March 20th, 2017.
Promotion.
Sure.
I would move to approve a promotion for Lynn Domier from her current part-time activity assistant position to the full-time administrative assistant position starting March 20th at a rate of $15 per hour.
Support?
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Okay. Mrs. Chenoweth?
yes,
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item, the wonderful world of IT. Our firewall service agreement with Graycon Services expires on March 24th. We have 2 options. That one was a 1-year agreement, and that was at $1,200 a year. If we renew it, if we renew it for 1 year, it'll be $1,110.50. Or we can save $448.25 by renewing it with a 3-year agreement at $2,883.25. So it's it puts it at a $961 and some change annual fee. And so the total on that for a 3-year contract, $2,883.25. The next thing that happens is we're expanding the use of our server by bringing the fire department on board, and as a consequence, it requires an expansion of the firewall to handle it. And that's the what's called the security appliance here. That's $1,201.25. Freight and handling $35. The total quote for both components was $4,119.50. So, anybody like to make a motion?
I would move to approve the Graycon,
Yes.
firewall. Yay. I would move to approve renewal of the Selfos SG-210 Full Guard Firewall Protection Plan for 36 months at $2,883.25, and to purchase the Selfos SG-210 Security Firewall Appliance at $1,236.25, including freight, for a total invoice price not to exceed $4,119.50. Thank you.
Support?
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item, authorization to sign and purchase Hickory Ridge Pines Park Extension. Gary, you've got some
Right, I
information.
provided some suggested changes earlier. I don't know if those were handed out to the board.
Right, that was at the table. There's a resolution there.
So, with reference to that document, one of the changes I made, I took out of a whereas clause, but it should go in the now therefore resolved clause. My recommendation would be, after it says Hickory Ridge Pines Park Expansion Property, add a comma instead of a period and add the following words: including the payment of customary closing costs. And I would recommend approval of the resolution as presented. There are time constraints on getting the closing done under the grant agreement that the board approved way back in May of 2015. So it'd be good to move it forward.
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
I move to approve resolution 17-06, the authorization for supervisor to sign closing documents to purchase Hickory Ridge Pines Park extension property.
Was that
Support.
good enough there, Gary?
Yes,
Okay.
as presented at
Oh, as
this
presented
evening's meeting.
at the
Support.
evening's meeting.
Okay. Did you get that, Missy? All right. Moved and supported. Vote please.
All right, yes.
yes,
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
I'd like to give kudos to Jenny Fredericks for working hard on that. She's really did a good job of doing that pretty much solo, and proud of her. I mean, that's a pretty good
Nice
thing to
project.
make that work. I don't know if I can get her to do it again. Kind of freaked her out. The next item is a request for participation in the 2017 RCOC Dust Control Program, Road Commission of Oakland County. We just received this just a couple of days ago. It's basically gone up 0.005 cents per linear foot over last year, which is pretty negligible. So it's gone from 0.235 cents per foot to 0.24 cents per foot. And, so I guess, I might as well throw a motion out there. I make a motion for Highland Township to participate in the Oakland County Dust Control Program for 2017, to have 4 applications on all local and sublocal public gravel roads in Highland at a cost of $36,491.52.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Mr. Supervisor, just for the audience's sake, this was, let them know, I mean, this was budgeted
Yes,
in our
yes it
budget,
was.
so that's why we did approve this money
Right.
was set aside for that.
That was budgeted. Okay, the next item is a little bit different, sounds the same, but it's not. The request for participation in the 2017 RCOC Road Gravel Program. I received some documentation from the Road Commission, and they had asked us if we would be interested in doing our tri-party share to put new gravel down. And what I want to show everybody is not that. So I have a document here, if this doesn't come up. A little hard for you guys to see down there, so. This map shows, it's a color map, and I'll get it on here in just a second, of what the county has done in the past in terms of road gravel. So, the different colors give you the different years. So green was done in 2009, pink was done in 2010, blue was done in 2012, orange was done in 2011, and purple was done in 2014. So what you can see there is the roads have been spottily repaired or gravelled. And this is kind of it's one of these things you find out you don't really understand how gravel works, but we have a gravel pit up here that you would think you could get road gravel from. And the reality is you can't, because it doesn't have a proper clay content. It has the proper fine content. But what happens is the fines are quartz and they don't bind, so when they use that type of a gravel on the road, it literally just sands out and dissipates. So they have to buy, otherwise we would probably be able to work a deal with the gravel pit like we have in the past and use the resources in our community, but instead they have to travel outside the community to do that. So there was a, let's see if I have that data in front of me here. What do you want to do with this? So basically, the available tri-party money would be $178,194, and of which our share would be $59,398. And Tammy and I did a little bit of number crunching, and what it boiled down to is that amount of money would probably cover about 15,000 tons of gravel. And of all the roads that we have that you see on there that are the gravel and colored, that's a total of 19,092 tons. So if we participated, we could actually have all the roads brought up to gravel spec in 1 year instead of piecework in it like we've done it. So we don't have anything readily available to save the tri-party money for. There are a couple items, Kevin, you guys would be affected by this. Have you been approached by Mr. Hoffman yet?
I did just speak to him a couple days ago.
Okay. Probably should, I'm talking to you, probably should give your name and...
Kevin Curtis, 5140 North Duck Lake Road.
Okay, so what's happening is you've got Duck Lake Road that ends, the pavement ends, it turns into private land. And so there's been essentially a trespass for years over private property without any real, there's some easements on some of the properties, some don't have easements. Yet Duck Lake Road has always been expected to go through, and consequently, it's a safety issue. And I think Lieutenant Snyder can attest to that. It's the fastest way to get to the very north end of our township, but it's the easiest way to break a fire truck or a vehicle. So Mr. Hoffman, who's our county commissioner, and Ron Folks, who's a trustee on the road commission, have gotten together, and they're looking to see if they can get the parties on that portion to donate a road parcel through there.
He asked me if I would be willing to speak to the neighbors, and I did agree to do that.
And if they can get the donation, then that sets it up for the county. They said they would then agree to take it on as a
That's huge steps
Public
forward
road.
from what they've told me in the past, because they've given me a packet this thick and told me that we had to bring it up to county specs, gravel ditches, culverts, and everything before they would even consider
right.
doing anything. So that's leaps and bounds.
So it's still time away, but so the thought is that we have people on Jackson Boulevard that have been bugging me forever to pave that piece. But the problem is you only have 10 people on it or less. And it's not the best access still to get north, because then you gotta go up Eagle Road, which is dirt, and that's has its problems too. But, so anyways, I think the thing to look towards is if we can get all of our gravel roads, one, we can bring Eagle up to spec, which is in bad shape. With this
Well,
money,
with all due respect, Eagle Road is way better than,
oh yeah,
Jackson's way better than it used to be, but.
it's not. I've been through it and looked at it. So anyways, well, I appreciate that he's talked to you, and I hope that, the people on your road can understand that the idea is not to turn it into a speedway,
Well,
but,
there's one residence that has always put a roadblock to everything being done on that road, up to and including wanting a reimbursement on their chloride monies if it didn't work. So they are no longer there. In fact, both parties have passed, and somebody else lives in that house now, so I really don't think that will be an issue.
well, that'd be cool if we could accomplish that. Thank you. Appreciate the assistance on that, because that really helps. So anyways, what happens is this money for the tri-party program could help improve what Eagle Road, and ironically Saturday morning, the people that live in Knollview who are on Eagle Road have the county coming there to talk to them about paving Eagle Road. And I can tell you the county's not jumping up and down about that one, because there's no money for it. But if we can get their road in better condition and also make it so that there's a sharing of some of the traffic load, both roads will come out in a lot better condition. So
Well,
then we can put our tri-party money towards
Two that will
that.
help, even another part of that too, is the frequency of the travel for the traffic cuts the dumping way down.
Yeah,
When the road's busy, now people are afraid to get caught. So when that's graded, you see less dumping
So
there.
that's huge.
So,
that's a good
so
point.
it'll fix a couple of things.
We could then call it a scenic view, then maybe.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for your help, because what happens is that one of us, and like Bob, would have to go out and knock on doors, and I'm glad Bob took it on. Of course, it's a benefit to him because he is a property owner there that gets all the dumping. Anyways, that's the explanation behind my conversations with the road commission and what their suggestion for using the money now for bringing all these roads up, because most of them are 2014 is the most recent, and they're just a couple of little pieces that were done then. So they've been graded and graded and graded. There's no longer a good gravel base, so this will help that out. So
And can I just clarify, when we were running numbers before, as I recall, we weren't gonna have enough money based on this projection here to do every road, but we could get up through the ones that haven't been touched since 2011. The one that we might not be able to get to the ones that were done in 2012.
but maybe with some arm twisting and the conversation with Dennis Kolar, who's the top guy at Ron Folks, that we might be able to say, here's what we're willing to do, and this is what it looks like, and let's see if we can get them all done. And, you know, sometimes the road commissions have been really good to work with. I mean, we've gotten a lot of things done by them that nobody had to, you know, quote, pay for. And I think that's, you know, it's a good sharing relationship, a working relationship. So if we can get it all done, it'd be cool. But at least we can get the worst roads and have them focus on what they know are the worst pieces. And then you do it from there. So,
Right.
yes.
Question for you.
Your name and address, please.
Oh, Paul Cabalco, 5206 North Melbourne Road. Just how long does that last when you do that? Just curious.
Well, I think what it boils down to is they're generally looking at, you know, 5 years is pushing the limits of it.
Okay.
Because you're constantly pulling stuff from the sides, which gets infiltrated with detritus, and then it changes the content of the soil, and then it doesn't bind like it should. So they have to keep relaying on top of it.
Okay.
But usually it's about a 5-year period. Okay. Anybody want to make the motion?
I would move to request the participation in the 2017 RCOC Road Gravel Program.
Here, let me give you this.
Oh, there's a budget.
Better
You know,
to the
it-
words.
Read the
Again.
bottom part.
I would say it's only half
Again,
of
if you're
it.
gonna do a budget amendment, you need the other half of it, where's the money coming from? So it means moving money from general fund,
It's in there.
No, there's only one side of it, Rick.
What's that?
There's only one side of
the
it.
budget
Oh.
amendment.
We
Comes
have to say
from
where
the
it's
so
road,
you have to include taking
Road
money
fund.
out of general fund, to transfer to road fund, that's the other half of that, a budget amendment.
But there's
Road fund
money
there.
in the road fund,
No, there's not.
but it's not budgeted.
It's not in the budget, but there's
There's funds.
321,825.42 in there.
Undesignated? Why? Where'd that money come from?
I think from previous tri-party money. It was reimbursed through levy.
So, what we want to do
And you don't
is,
have to take it from general fund.
we'll take it from the road fund.
Okay. Move to amend the budget in the amount of $59,398 from account number, which is the road fund, which
Up at the top.
the combined.
You wanna look at this, Mary?
201-000-000-007-000. Is that
That'd
right?
be right.
I can't tell you without looking at the.
It's gotta be the
No.
top line there.
I don't think it is, I think it's,
All those numbers missing?
No, it's.
How many zeros were there?
it's
There
not.
was 6.
Too many.
Yeah,
I got
2 sets of 3, and then there, yeah, he just took it away from there, might have been another one too. Okay, are we ready?
Almost.
The exact account number.
It's coming from this number right
Okay,
here.
ready?
Yes.
201-000-000-695-200. It's coming from that account, going to account number 201-290-000-957-000. Road participation projects and approved participation in the 2017 RCOC Tri-Party Program Gravel Project.
Support.
I know.
I think so.
Okay, moved and supported.
Ready to vote? Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Gravel.
Six, seven.
Well, thanks again for doing that.
That's awesome.
All right, list of bills. You should have, I don't know, there was some additional stuff that was emailed.
And it's also on the table there for you too. So there's three lists. There's the February 24th list that was included in the packet. The March 8th list that was emailed earlier, and then the add-on list, which was emailed today, and then also printed for you.
Passing these down to Tammy here.
All right.
I would move to approve the list of bills from February 24th and March 8th with the additional.
Support?
All right, Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment.
I have a question.
Steve first, he beat you, Gary, right behind you, he outbid you.
Okay, so the public road graveling, they do 4 times a year and chloride 4 times a year.
No, just
Correct.
the chloride, they're gonna do the gravel once.
Gravel once,
Chloride,
4 times a year.
private roads, you get
No.
reimbursement for 4 times. If you chloride 4 years to keep your road together,
If you do what?
No.
reimbursement for chloride on private roads 4 times also, if you haven't chlorided 4 times.
Yeah, what it does is there's so much per, there's a, formula that we have for that. Unfortunately,
Reimbursement's only one time.
It was
What's
only
that?
one time before.
Reimbursement is
well, it's one
time.
reimbursement,
Why is it only 1 for private roads and 4 for
we
public?
get it done 4 times.
Hmm?
You get it done 4 times and bring us the amount, the list, it gives us the amount and how many lineal feet.
it's one reimbursement, it's still 4 treatments.
So it's still 4 treatments.
We better look that up,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind.
No, well, in the past, it's been, every time you get it done once, you get reimbursed once.
Right,
If you have to have your road done, our particular road, we have to have it done at least twice a year. But we only get reimbursed once.
right.
I've asked that.
But that's just for the 1 application, not for the 2 applications.
Correct.
So shouldn't you get reimbursed for both applications?
We'll look and see what they've done in the past.
We'll bring up the, previous and let you know what that is.
I know. it's
Should
free.
you or should we? I think that the
Well,
reality
we're
is,
private
should we
road-
reimburse at all? I mean, that is the
Exactly.
question.
My neighbor used to do ours, and the way he explained it to me, it was 1 person can represent everyone on the road, and they would reimburse you up to 4 applications, but they would only do it 1 time annually. So if you're gonna run to them each time with a bill, you burned up your 1 time per year. That's the way I understood it. So he did it annually,
Okay.
but then what he would do is he would take the reimbursement and he would put that towards the next year. Now we're not paying it out of our pocket per se, again, and then he would just keep resubmitting it annually. And he just kept turning it over that way.
So you get a 1-time payout, but you could have 4 applications.
Just
If you have up 4 applications, you just gotta sit on it and
Okay,
submit
that's fine.
all of them at the same time.
That's all it is.
I just took over our road and I don't know what we're
Are we paying for 4
Gary?
applications?
We don't know. We're gonna have to look it up.
In the context of what has been discussed here, your earlier motion was to continue what you've done in the past.
Correct.
And I don't, it doesn't sound like anyone at the table is absolutely comfortable with what that is. But that's what you voted to do, to continue the way you did it in the past. In other words, however you did it last year is what you voted to do tonight.
Correct.
So if you paid for 4 treatments, then that's what you voted to do tonight. If you did it some other different way, if you only covered 1 or 2 or 3 treatments in the past, that's what you voted to do. And obviously, you'll have the records to reflect what that was.
Right. Okay. Any more comments?
I still have one. I wanna know who makes up your account numbers.
They line up with the
State of
state
Michigan.
numbers. Yeah,
A uniform chart of accounts.
that's right.
That's that thing you don't like doing, accounting, that it's accounting.
State
There's
of
an awful lot of zeros.
12 numbers.
All right, on that, note, then, oh, I'm sorry.
Sherry Galante, 3197 Beaumont Drive. I have a question for you about the lights again, Mr. Kimmel.
Yes.
Our lights are still out on the road on M59 on the northwest corner of Duck Lake Road. The street lights have been out since I don't know how long. It's really dark there. So
Northwest
who do I
corner,
get to?
one light, is it,
No, the lights all the way from the corner to O'Reilly's, along that whole strip mall area there. And that's on the same side of the road as that 24-hour business of Snap Fitness. We get a lot of walkers through there, especially in the morning times and later at night when people are coming and going to work.
I'll give Edison a call tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you probably won't get through.
You won't get
Yeah, you won't get through. I'd say until next week.
Maybe Monday.
Easy way out, but no, I will get that
Thank
taken
you, I
care of.
appreciate that. I don't want
And-
to hurt.
If you ever notice it, call me,
I will.
because that's, I don't drive through there all the time, and to be honest with you, the weird part is, if you remember back when the lights went out, then you thought I shut them off with a switch. It turned out that the wire was actually failed, and they're all underground. So they came out, they fixed them, and then they were changing bulbs out and didn't finish that out. And he came back and said, the lights are out again. And so it's like, I'm playing games with these guys trying to take care of these goofy lights, and it is a nightmare. So, but I appreciate it.
I just don't want to see anybody else get hurt on that intersection. And that your meeting on March 29th at 59 and 59 West,
Yes,
what time is that going to start?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m. And now, because it was not on this agenda here, and we're not having any more meetings between now and then, how is the public going to find out?
It's in the newspaper, and it'll be on our website.
Will it be on the website?
Yep.
Okay, great.
And we appreciate your attendance, because every voice counts. And,
Especially on that subject.
yeah, there's, none of us really like this.
We don't want to.
Really,
No,
we need
we
help.
don't.
And, you know, we just want to be sure that, you know, if we make any kind of decisions, it might just be no, which is the easy way out. Or, and not that we want to take the hard way out, but
I have a comment that might get some more people here. You do your private meetings like at the end of the thing, and then that way people aren't here for 10 minutes and then sit for an hour or so.
unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's based on past, you know, previous business and new business. And so we have to follow the agenda set up by the way that's recommended by the state. So that's the format that we've adopted, and that's why it works that way. Because I would rather torture nobody than to have that happen, but that's the way it works based on the requirement for the agenda layout, so.
Very good.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks for coming. Meeting adjourned.
Okay,